Hey Social Lab, Kay here with Kay Whitaker Solutions, and today is week 1 of your training with the Social Lab. So I know a lot of you have tons of questions about how you can best utilize social media to help enhance your brand, and we are going to cover all of those things in the next upcoming weeks. But before we jump into the juicy stuff, today we're going to talk about the plan. Yes, the plan. So I know some of you are probably sitting there thinking like, what? The plan? I thought you were going to show me how to use social media. Well, this is a part of using social media. And the first part of developing a professional social media presence is ensuring that you have a solid plan to make sure that you are accomplishing goals that you want to reach while using your social media and effectively engaging your community. So let's think about a plan. When we talk a plan, most times we automatically think about something like a business plan, right? And in a business plan, there's several steps. It outlines the business in general, and then it also goes into detail about what you want to accomplish while you're in business. And that is something similar to a social media content strategy. It is going to tell you or outline the things that you want to accomplish while you're using social media, or you're going to outline those. And then you're going to outline the way that you're going to go about doing it. So here's a little bit about how that works. Okay, so the first part in creating effective plan is to kind of outline it a little bit and just to determine exactly what it is that you're getting ready to do. So there are 3 components to a successful social media lab, in my opinion, that you should always incorporate into your content strategy. And the first part of that is going to set some goals. It's going to be to say, what exactly is it that I'm trying to accomplish while I'm using social media? There are so many different platforms out there and they all work differently. But what do I want to accomplish by being there? Am I trying to just, on social media period, am I trying to just elevate my brand where people know about me? Am I actually trying to sell online? Am I trying to promote my blog? Am I trying to use it as a tool for customer service? Like, what is it that I want to accomplish while using social media? And I can tell you there's a number of different ways that you can do it. So there's no one size fit all kind of plan. But what you do want to do is sit down and give some serious thought about what it is that you want to accomplish while you're online. Being on social media doesn't always mean that you have to be there to sell something. And a lot of times I get clients and I'm like, well, what's one of the first things that you want to do while you're using social media? And they're like, I want to make money. And I'm like, I get it, but how do you plan on going about making money while using the internet? Because it's not an easy task. People are not going to buy from you just because you have something to sell. The first part of any relationship is building a relationship and getting to know one another. We call it rapport in the sales world. And in order to do that, there has to be an even exchange in communication and in information exchange. And your responsibility as the expert is to educate your audience in a way, if you want to sell online, that is going to move them to pull out their credit card. Simple as that. But while you're sitting down thinking about what you want to accomplish with social media, you have to tie that into how it's going to better your brand. You know, you can be on social media all day and it could be a game for you. You can go there and it could just be pure pleasure. But if you're not setting out to accomplish things that are going to push your brand forward, then you might as well not do it business-wise. You can do social media on your own personally and have as much fun as you like in a personal area. But when it comes down to using it in a business sense, it's an extension of your brand. And you want to make sure that extension of your brand is represented professionally at all times. So when people see you, they have nothing but good and positive things to say about you, and they can trust you. And in turn, if you decide that you want to sell online, they'll be willing to buy for you. So you have to consider those things. So even if you have nothing written down as far as objectives are concerned, a piece of advice would be to start with, how do I want to build a relationship with my audience, and what do I want that what do I want that relationship with my audience to turn into for my business? That's the first part. So the second sorry guys, video is new for me, so you're going to see a lot of mistakes, and I'm not going to stop this video to retape it. We're just going to push past them, so get used to it and love me for it anyway. Just get past the mistakes and listen to the information that I'm giving you. Okay, so with that being said, the second part of creating your content strategy is going to be to determine what platform you're going to use to do that. if you're just starting off, or even if you've been doing this for a little while, there are 1,900 social media platforms out there, and there are some major ones that everybody is familiar with, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. LinkedIn's a really good professional network, but I don't advise you to try to conquer all of those at one time. Like, it's almost impossible. I would say do one thing really well than to do 19 of them and half do all of them. So my suggestion is going to be to do a little research about the platform. And that research is going to include, number one, what's the goal of the platform? And you say, well, Kay, how do you figure out what the goal of the platform is? Well, a really simple way to do that is to go to their homepage, log out, get completely logged out of them if you're a member of them. And for example, go to Facebook's homepage and see what their mission is. See what their goal is for having this social platform, and see if you can use that or manipulate that in a way that's going to be effective for your brand. And I can tell you that Facebook, I'm a Facebook advocate. I don't live in, well, let me take that back. I do live and die by it, but I don't discourage you from trying other platforms if you choose to do something else, if something is easier for you and your audience is there. Because I do feel like the same audience that is on Facebook is on Twitter and Instagram in a different capacity. You have to communicate with them a little differently, but I do think that they're there. But I will say this, I am a Facebook advocate. And if you are starting off and you can conquer Facebook, I'm going to tell you that it is going to be easy to conquer the rest of the other platforms. One good reason is the other platforms mirror Facebook's. They mirror the process. They communicate a little differently. Twitter gives you only text to talk in 140 words to communicate a message, and Twitter has video and pictures out now. Instagram is only pictures, but it's owned by Facebook. But my point to this is Facebook is the hardest to learn. It is, I won't say the hardest, but it takes more research to break through. And if you can break through Facebook, you will be absolutely a rock star at any of the other ones. And I know there's some people out there that might disagree with that, but it's been my experience that once I mastered Facebook and understood the mechanics behind Facebook and the technique that I need to use behind Facebook, transitioning into Twitter and Instagram has been a breeze for me. I do get a lot of traffic from all three sources, but I am a social media strategist, so it's important that I understand all of these different platforms. For somebody that does not do social media as a business, you don't have to be on all of those platforms, but you do need to be effective on whichever one you choose to use. So when you're thinking about your goals and your objectives, and then you're trying to figure out what platform you're going to use to best suit your needs, consider all of those things. Maybe you want to start on Instagram and then move that momentum from Instagram to Facebook or from Instagram to Twitter, however, but think through it and come up with a plan that says, I'm going to do XYZ in this amount of time, and this is what it requires in order for me to do that. Which leads me into the third part of creating your plan. You need to look at where you are now, where you say you desire to be, and then fill that gap with what it's going to take in order for you to get there. A lot of times we say, oh, I want to do this, and it's this big, huge dream, and nothing's wrong with that. That is absolutely fine, but we fail to bring it down to, is it attainable? One, do you have the things in place now that you need in order to get there? If you don't know what those things are, then you need to go and do some research, or if you're lacking them, you need to figure out a way to attain them so that you can accomplish your goals. Because there is a gap between where you are now and where you want to be. And in between that gap is going to be resources and action. And if you don't have the resources and you're not taking the action, you're not going to fill your gap. Make sense? Okay, so speaking about the third part of that, where you're thinking about, okay, is this attainable? Do I have the tools necessary in place that I need in order to fulfill my goals? Now, when you're setting your goals, don't limit yourself. And I always tell my clients, start big, start here. If there were no limits to what you could do, what would you do? How would that look for you? And then work backwards from there and say, okay, I want to have 10,000 followers on Facebook, but I only have 100. What does it take in order for me to get there? And that's the research part that's in the middle. So make sure you're doing some good research, and make that an action step, is to do some research to figure out how you need to get from point A to point B. Now, lucky for you is that you're part of the social lab. So some of these things we're going to be able to work through together. I'm going to be able to help you fill that gap by giving you some of the resources that you need and supplying you with some tools, not personally, but giving you the tools that I use, and you can go and acquire them yourselves, that would help you accomplish your goals. And then that way, you get some benefit from the social lab, and then you can start to see things move for your business. So far, we've talked about the plan in general. We've said that you need to write down a set of goals that you want to accomplish by using social media. And if you're confused about where to start with your goals, I'll give you some insight to some of mine. I use social media. I'm a business coach and a social media strategist. And I use social media as a means to build brand recognition around my company. So right now I'm a personal brand, and at some point I will be a full-blown agency where I'll have employees that will actually work for me to handle different parts of the brand. But right now I'm a personal brand, which means I am the face of my brand and I handle things myself. I've got a couple of people that do some other things for me and I contract out some work. But for the most part, if you're working with Kay Whitaker, you're working with me directly. But the way I attract my clients is supplying information. So I use social media as a tool to educate and to give people the knowledge that they need in order to take it back to their business and use it and apply it so that they can start to see some things happen in their business. So I'm all about educating, empowering people to decide. If you've got a vision and you don't know how to get there, I try to keep you motivated. Tons of you have come to me from Instagram, and Instagram is purely my place to share my motivation. And I truly believe that you are the deciding factor in what happens for you. Between you and your creator, the two of you work together to decide what happens to you, and nobody else has the power to decide those things for you. And I use Instagram as a place to share that insight on how I feel and to empower other entrepreneurs that might be out here and struggling, or even if they're not struggling, they just, to help remember that it was a day where you may not have had it all, but thank God that you are where you are now. Does that make sense? And I don't want to get into a whole lot of spiritual stuff with you, but that's how I use Instagram. Twitter is a place that I use to drive traffic from Twitter to my other platforms. It's very informative. Twitter is a very content-driven platform, so I like to share a lot of articles, share other people's work, share my work, and then mainly drive people from my Twitter family to my Instagram or my Facebook family. And Facebook, as you know, is the place where I do all of my sharing of all of my knowledge. It's a lot easier for me in that capacity with the combination of graphics and text and link sharing, so I get the best of all three worlds: videos, by using Facebook. And I use Facebook as a place to build a community where people can ask me questions and I'll answer them. Twitter, I'm going into a more customer service oriented type community there, and you'll see we're going to have a tweet chat on Wednesday where you'll be able to ask me all of the questions that you have from today's discussion on Twitter. So those are some things that you want to identify when you're thinking about, what do I want to accomplish while I'm using social media? I hope that helps. Just to recap on the second part, choosing your platform. As I said before, it's very important to understand how the platform works. 2, to know if your customers are there. And 3, to make sure that you're functioning in a way that your customer is going to be related to you. So I get the question of the day, and I'm sure you're probably thinking, well, how do I know if my customers are there? Well, that's going to require a little research as well. You want to go and find people that are similar to what you're doing or that you aspire to be like, and see if they're there. They're simple. See if they're active and if their community is active. You want to go and look for them. Look for your competition. And I'm not talking competition that is just where you are, has the same amount of followers and all that good stuff. I want you to go and look for people that are doing what you want to do. If it's Twitter that you want to be on and you want 100,000 followers, go and find somebody that is in your profession, in your industry, and see if they have that amount of followers. Even if it's not 100,000, 20, 40, 50, whatever, see if they're successful. If they're on Twitter, see if people are retweeting, see if people are favoring them, see if they're active in the community, and that'll tell you if your customers are there. And I know research sounds overwhelming, and oh my God, how am I supposed to find out this information? But the great part about social media is that you can do more research on social media than you can do on Google. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth, especially when you're looking for similarity in yourself and something else. So that would be my suggestion for you. And then you want to make sure that it's something that you can do well. Like it makes no sense if you don't enjoy Facebook. And I'm not telling you that you're going to enjoy every aspect of your business, but it needs to be some element of satisfaction from using these platforms. There are other platforms out there that we could use all day long, but I don't understand them. Google Plus is a great one. I hadn't ventured into Google Plus yet. I love Google Hangouts and I love YouTube, but that is about the extent of my Google Plus experience. And I'm not afraid to say that because that's just not an angle that I've tackled yet. Do I want to? Sure, at some point, but I've got my hands full with the four or five that I use right now. So it may be a while, but I don't enjoy Google Plus like I enjoy Facebook. I don't enjoy Google Plus like I enjoy Twitter. I don't enjoy Google Plus like I enjoy Instagram. So I don't spend my time trying to understand it. Are my customers there? I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. But is it worth my time, my investment of time? Because time may not cost you money. In some cases it does, but it is an investment. Nothing's free. None of this is free. If you can't afford to pay money for the resources that you're going to have to need in order to get this done, then you're going to invest your time to do it. So it's not free. It's low cost, but it's not free. So it doesn't make sense for me to invest my valuable time into something that I don't enjoy. So that's the thing that you want to think about when you're considering choosing a platform that's going to be effective for your business. The number one thing is going to be, are your customers there? And then the second part of that is, can you enjoy using it? Because if you're not in a place where you can afford to pay somebody else to do this for you, you're going to pay for it in your time. And you want to make sure that there is some satisfaction that you receive out of being present, because that's going to give you the fuel that you need in order to continue the work. Does that make sense? Are you following me? And then the final part of that is going to be, the attainability of it all. Once you've looked at where you are and where you decide that you want to be, how attainable is it? Do you have the resources? Do you have the time? Can you make the time? Can you acquire the resources? If you can't acquire the resources, what can you do offline that will help you to generate income so that you can require the resources that you need in order to accomplish your goals? And once you've outlined those three, then you've got a plan. And then from that plan, you can go into the strategy of implementing the plan. So there's several pieces of being productive on social media. And I know that we've spent about 15 minutes talking about how to create the plan. And I know that some of you were anxious to say, okay, teach me how to use Facebook, teach me how to use Instagram, teach me how to use Twitter. And I'm going to do those things. But all of that's mechanical. It starts with the foundation. If your foundation is shaky, if it's not solid, then it doesn't matter what you do on those platforms. You're going bloop, 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 content, bloop, customers, bloop, everything's just going to fall through. So you want to make sure that your foundation is strong, and that foundation starts with your plan. And I'd be doing you an injustice to take you immediately into the mechanics of how things work without touching on that first. So I know there's some questions, and I am more than happy to answer your questions. I don't want to just give you this information and then leave you high and dry. So an extension of the Social Lab, as you all know, is going to be the tweet chats every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Time. So the way this works, and if you haven't done a tweet chat before, don't worry. There's going to be an email coming out after this one letting you know the process for joining the tweet chat. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. It's not going to be anything that's going to cost you any money, and it's certainly not going to be anything that's going to be too hard for you to do. It's the simplest process in the world. But the way you're going to communicate with me, with your questions, is going to be through the tweet chat. And the tweet chat is going to be Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Time. And we're going to log on and we're going to use the hashtag KSocialLab. And that's spelled out hashtag KAESOCIALLAB. And that's going to give you, we're going to spend about an hour chatting on Twitter. And that's going to give you an opportunity to bring any and every question that you have about what we talked about tonight to the tweet chat, and I'll be able to answer those for you. Now, if you're not available for the tweet chat, it's no big deal. With the hashtag, you'll be able to search the hashtag and see if others have questions similar to yours, and you will be able to find the answers just by searching the hashtag. So I want to make this really simple, and I want to make it really available for everybody to use. So I hope this was enjoyable for you. I tried to keep this brief. The Social Lab is not meant to take up a lot of your time. These are going to be things that you can implement 15 to 30 minutes a day and be able to see a huge difference in your business. I'm so excited to be bringing you these trainings. Make sure that if you know anybody that needs this special intimate type of training, that you share it with them and invite them to join. It's free, so the more the merrier. If you have any questions, again, we're tweeting on Wednesday 8 p.m. using the hashtag KSocialLab. I can't wait to tweet with you guys then. Until we meet again on Sunday, this is Kay with Kay Whitaker Solutions, and this was your first week of the Social Lab. Have a good evening, guys. Good night.